Was that loud enough? Let's do another one. Okay, that's good. All right, here we are again in the DUCKLIFE. I guess today we should call it the studio because we don't really use it as an office anymore. Today we welcome Samer, a friend, a kind of mentor, a sounding board, and the guy behind Growth Levers. You run your own growth business. Welcome to DUCKLIFE.
Thank you, Chris. It's a pleasure. Been a long time. Miss you.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me, and thanks for the short and sweet intro.
Yeah, I mean,
guess
it's a pleasure.
We both mentored each other, throughout the years, and always
absolutely.
happy to touch base.
Yeah, I have a love-hate relationship with the word growth.
Yeah.
And
Same here.
I'm so excited to have this conversation because I know your perspective, but I kind of want to challenge the whole idea of growth and what our understanding in the region is of growth and how it happens. There's a lot of gurus out there. I swear to God, if I hear that word again, I'm going to go crazy.
Yeah, growth guru,
growth guru,
hacker.
growth hackers. And so I think with the startup kind of ecosystem kind of in full speed, I think there's no better time than to talk about the topic.
Yeah.
Both of us have had a relatively good enough and deep enough experience in building companies. So I'm really excited to have you today and to have this conversation. I think the first thing I would say to you is what is, in terms of how you define it in your organization, what is growth marketing?
In very simple way, growth marketing, revolves about how fast you can do tests and challenge assumptions, and how fast you can fail and learn.
Okay.
And if you do that right, and if you follow a specific framework, depending on the product, of course, then success is gonna, you're gonna find success one way or another.
And who's responsible in your mind for growth in an organization?
It's the entire organization, right? So this is one misconception, right? Is like I have a lot of conversations with founders, either current clients or potential clients or leads, etc. And then the first thing is we have that product and now we just wanna, scale and grow and then, deal with it basically. And growth doesn't fix the organization and doesn't fix the product. First, you nail the product, you nail the team that you currently have. You need you built a very good platform, and then you are ready to actually grow.
It's funny because I don't know, 3-4 years ago, there was this huge rush in every organization to establish a growth team, right? And I remember even when I was at Kareem, for example, it was the trend. It was let's build a growth organization, a separate team that lived by none of the rules, and all of a sudden they were going to be these kind of miners of growth. They were just going to dig and they were going to find things that we had never seen. And I was totally sold, and so was the whole organization naturally. And whether it was at Kareem or even at Rocket Internet before that, we had the same thing. And even at at Noon, etc., there were kind of these kind of roles, floating around where people were just trying to find growth all the time. And that was that kind of their mandate. And it became a separate kind of outside external team to the marketing organization or outside of the product organization, et cetera, and they were kind of hacking their way along.
Yeah.
Fast forward to today, my kind of position on growth is that it's an organizational commitment, right? It's this kind of notion that this separate team is going to find things and be able to kind of give you that 10%, 15%, 5% extra that you're looking for is highly unlikely, and if they do, it's highly unsustainable.
Exactly.
Right.
So that's the other term, right?
Yeah.
Is it sustainable growth you're looking for? Or is it you just want to have a spike to show your investors? What are we really trying to solve for? And as you're saying, growth cannot function in a silo. You might have a data team just trying to dig some data, present it, etc. But that's the art of it, and that's the biggest challenge that we face, and that's why it's really you don't find a lot of people doing what we're trying to do. Is that you really need to merge all the teams together, from customer experience, gathering the feedback, understand why your product sucks, understand how you can make it better, work on retention, work on the CEO who's an early stage first time founder, open his mind a little bit to test more, to dare more, to do things crazy like what Kareem did in the beginning, right? This is, it's all...
And I think that's a really good point, because sorry to cut you off. Like, there's a difference between optimizing and continuous efficiency in optimizing, and doing things that you should, or not doing things that you should be doing. So, for example, if we bring Kareem up, I think it's a great example. We really hyper-simplified the marketing process and the marketing strategy. We had, I can't even remember what they were, but we had 7 things that we had to do on a month-to-month basis. Every major city in the Kareem network had to do 7 things on a month-to-month basis in their marketing plan in order to say that we've at least done the minimum required to be successful. PR stories, digital marketing plans, stunts, retention things, etc. There was 7 boxes that you had to tick every month for every city, every major city, in order to say that we've done at least the minimum required on a month-to-month basis to market ourselves.
Yep.
Right? And if you hadn't done those things, those are not growth hacks. That's just marketing. And a lot of the things that I see today in terms of startups or early stage companies is they say, man, I need to growth hack. I need to stunt. I need to do like crazy PR, or I need to do like content, and I need to have a performance marketing plan that is super crazy. But these are all like, of course you need to. That's just like marketing 101. Like you have to think about your funnel and, okay, how do I get the awareness? And how do I get them into the product? And how do I convert them and all that stuff? And then all these things are not growth hacking. They're just
it's a framework. Let's say you're following a
table
framework.
stakes. It's table stakes, right? And I think people interpret what those things are today. And I think building a strategy on stunts and going viral is just not it's not sustainable. It's you're in la la land, and saying that optimization of a digital or a performance marketing funnel is growth hacking is not. It's you have to continuously. That's if you're going to do any digital marketing, you need to continuously be optimizing and trying and stuff. Now, you said something specifically different. Is growth is having the ability to test, learn, succeed and fail as fast as possible.
And share the feedback with the entire team as fast as possible.
100%. And in terms of the clients that you serve and the people that you speak to on a regular basis, who's actually doing that?
Okay, so I'm a bit biased towards my clients because of
you don't have to name them.
No,
you don't have to name them.
We're not. We're definitely not naming today. But so even my clients, right? They fall into, let's say, 2 categories: the ones who, either are experienced, have been there for a long time, like built the company for a while, or it's the second company, etc. Where you notice a trend where they can really focus and prioritize things that matter, that move the needle. And then you see the early stage new founders who are still a bit lost, like, but we need to do community management. You don't have a community. Like, let's just focus on
the 82 followers that you have.
And we need to.
Which half of them are your friends and family.
Exactly.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
So it's prioritization and starting from the CEO, from the founder, right? Making sure that he's doing what's needed, not having to go pay PR on the first month of launch, where So back to your question is. Yeah, I think prioritization and, also having kind of a feedback loop within the team, right? Like holding people accountable, making sure you're doing what, like a bit more than what's just needed, but at the same time.
But can startups super early stage, do they have the infrastructure and the capability to test?
Yeah, because otherwise, if they don't do that early stage, then they might miss on a lot of opportunities later. So by default, their mindset should be like, we're going to continuously test until we have statistical significance, we have enough data, we have enough customers, and this is where you start investing.
And sorry, I just want to dumb down the conversation a little bit, maybe get into more specifics. What are we testing?
Okay, so one of my recent clients now, what we're actually testing is that we're taking them from launch. Like, there's no product yet. There's a backend, there's a functionality and all of that, but super smart move. He doesn't want to launch before actually testing if the problem is worth solving. Mm-hmm. So all we're doing now is gathering leads, high quality leads. We qualify them through an entire process. Then we pick up the phone, do phone interviews, go through 20 questions, making sure all is good, collect 200 data points and feedback. And then after that, so first is testing product market fit.
Okay.
That's like the essence, right? Without product market fit,
sure,
everyone knows there's nothing, you got nothing, right? Second step, you want to start testing. From that feedback, by the way, from these customers, you build the persona, a target persona. And this is where you start testing channel product fit, right? So like, which product on which channel will perform better. You might
Sure.
notice, for example, that paid ads. Yeah, you're paying a little bit, on ads, but your growth rate could be significantly higher than relying on social, because it's a product that solves an immediate problem versus
Yeah.
a product that needs more brand awareness versus a product that
Sure.
is an every week's need, etc. So testing the channels and testing your ROI, like what are you expecting? Are you expecting to turn profitable? Are you expecting to raise funds 6 months from now because of X, Y, and Z? So there's plenty of kind of testing, channels, formats, tone, even, right? Start building the brand. You mentioned before when on our chat deck,
Yeah.
they don't have the budget from day one, but doesn't mean you don't need to start building your brand.
Of course.
Understanding what tone makes sense, right?
course.
Trying not to copy, try to really be unique, find that unique thing.
Absolutely.
that will
Positioning,
stick.
uniqueness. Absolutely. So you're testing kind of the value proposition. Is there a market for it?
Yep.
MVP and product market fit. Then you're testing kind of the channels and the segments and identifying who you're going after and where to find them.
Exactly.
And then you're testing, okay, what is kind of the call to action, the language, the tone of voice, the design system I need to follow that attracts these people to actually click and say, yes, I want to do this. And then are you actually testing the product and the rest of the funnel as well?
Definitely. So depending on the product, again, let's say it's a product that solves the need immediately and that's it. Maximum you can test is virality. Like, is it a product that is viral that might start getting you direct traffic, referrals, etc.? Is it a product that that's it solves the need done? So one of our clients actually is like an every week product. Like you can actually buy from them every single week. Yeah, it's a commodity, right? And it's very important to focus on retention in that case.
Of course.
It's not about the acquisition. People want that. It's product market fit since 2,000 years ago. It's food, right?
Sure.
People want that. But how's the retention doing? This is how growth is going to happen. It's purely retention. And it took us 1 quarter to convince the founder to revisit his entire customer service team.
That's what
Retention
I was going
was
to say.
very low.
Retention is based on experience.
Of course, on experience and on comparing you to competitors, because there is competition in that specific industry. And for example, in that case, it's really like we will not be able to actually grow unless he's investing more in ads, which is stupid to do alone, right? Each product will have its different frameworks. In that case, we obsessed about something that we cannot control much: retention, right? So we rolled our sleeve, went there again, built cohorts, understanding, like for example, in Jan, how many people came back in Feb, in March, in April, understanding where the drop was, because there was a major drop in retention.
Yeah.
Fixed it and once and for all, we fixed it with them, and then everything
In a
got better.
customer service product experience perspective.
Yeah.
Okay. And so I guess this is probably something you encounter every day, and I'd love to talk to you about it. CEO comes to you, tells you, I need 20% growth next month. I need my revenue to jump 20%. You know that the product has reached its, let's say, maximum.
Okay. Or it's a shitty product.
Or it's a shitty product. What do? Because you can artificially kind of boost traffic and you can do that. You can pump money to solve any of those problems, but you know that it's not going to bring sustained growth, and it's just
honestly, what do I do is that we usually don't take such clients. It's very simple, honestly. It's from financial point of view is that I know for a fact it's not going to be sustainable. Whatever he's asking for could happen if we really put a lot of time and money to inflate that, to artificially inflate that, but it's not going to be sustainable. And if he doesn't have that mindset, and if he has very high expectations, then it's all like it's a teamwork. Again, we're not an agency. We really work very closely with them, depend a lot on him and his team. So, it's a very high risk, because for us, the first 2 to 3 months is where we learn the most, where we double down on our efforts to be able to, drive really good quality on what we're doing. So that's our investment and our, focus in the beginning. If it's not met from the other side, it's not worth it. It's literally not worth it. Might as well, put more time with existing clients or get something more simple.
I mean, cool. I agree with you, and I think that's the right approach. When I think about the reality of organizations, startups, or even more established brands, the marketing organization or the performance organization that might be within the company, they often have no say or control or influence on the product, unfortunately. In 2020, and I would say for the last 10 years or so, CMOs have pretty much no power
Yeah, but at the
They-
same time,
you know,
they're accountable.
but at the same time they're super accountable, and I can speak from experience. so you know, yes, you can come up with, you know, cool campaigns and, you know, kind of control the brand and the tone of voice and the creative side of things, and that's fantastic, and I think that's amazing. And yes, you might control, you know, marketing overall budgets and things like that, and you're accountable to kind of setting the forecast for the year and stuff like that. But inherently, there is a chief product officer, or there's a, you know, a CTO, or, you know, a CCO, who knows, somewhere, who has more kind of impact on the product and the experience of your customer than a CMO might, right? First of all, what's your opinion of that? And second, like, I kind of feel that CMOs are kind of on the receiving end of the negative aspects of not performing. So if a CEO wants to hold someone accountable, he's going to hold the CMO accountable. But he's not going to hold the product people accountable, because the product can always hide behind, oh, we didn't have the traffic, oh, we attracted the wrong customers, oh, we attract, you know, all that stuff,
Correct.
right? There's that whole kind of, you know, barrier. So what's your opinion on that?
I see what you're saying, man. My opinion is that it all goes back to the culture of the company. So if from the beginning, same as, you know, even early stage startups or big guys that like the ones you worked with, are we about, you know, learning every single day as a group of people, of smart people? Is your counterpart smart enough, by the way, to do the job? Can you really trust them? Or maybe you should replace them? Or,
Sure.
you know, at the end of the day, it's a team effort. Marketing can forecast as long as product is also going in the same
cycle.
direction,
Yeah.
right? So my opinion is that this is a shared responsibility. You know, CMO cannot take the blame of failed projections if product didn't evolve in the right direction. Sure. And also, it's the CEO's, let's say, job here, since they're working with, you know, high-level executives, to make sure the team is super working
aligned.
Yeah, super aligned, working together, challenging each other. By the way, like as a CMO, you should challenge the product. The product should challenge marketing, right? Because this is how you're actually gonna grow. You want someone very smart, digging into what you're doing, also asking you questions, understanding the quality of the traffic. Why is it shitty? Maybe I'm missing something. You know, maybe I can improve my conversion rates, because, you know, the traffic from Facebook is actually super high, but guess what? They're dropping here because they don't understand the same message that they're seeing on Facebook versus on the landing page, etc. There's tons of variables, and the answer is really culture, and, you know, making sure that teams are equally strong, let's say, right?
Yeah.
Because that's what you really want. You want to get, you know, super strong teams working together and having fun doing it. Right?
Yeah. I mean,
breaking the silos, yeah.
I mean, but it's very easy to get caught into that cycle, right? It's like, you know, you get super focused. There's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of pressure on the product. There's a lot of pressure on the marketing. There's a lot of pressure on these startups that are going through these hyper growth phases, and it's almost natural for people to kind of just put their head down and just work, right? And I think, you know, the best cliche that everyone will ever tell you is that, I don't know what the exact line is, but culture eats strategy for breakfast or something, right? So I completely agree. And I think arguably a lot of most of the brands that we know that have been very successful had very strong cultures. And I think that's inherently what allows a company to move forward successfully and sustainably.
And attract the right people along the way. Because
talent. It's all about talent. Yeah, absolutely.
So when you gave that example, for example, I'm sure that culture wasn't as strong in that company, or like in an example, if you're referring to a friend, like it's kind of a bit, you know, from the way you're saying, is that there was no alignment, there was no buy-in, there was no sense of partnership.
Absolutely. And culture is not, unfortunately, in organizations, culture is hard to keep a hold of, especially when a company is growing at that speed and you're hiring like crazy.
Changes every day.
Changes every day, because culture is basically the amalgamation of a bunch of people whose value systems are supposed to be aligned. And when you kind of scale, you know, and you go from like 50 people to like 500 people, and then 500 people to 1,000 people, of course there's going to be a huge impact. Of course, and keeping a hold of that is so critical, right? And I think, for example, Kareem did it really, really well for a long period of time. And that, in my opinion, is what allowed Kareem to succeed to the level that it did, right? It was able to keep a really good focus on that. Very clear mission, very clear vision, very consistent in its position on things.
Very strong brand for sure.
Very strong brand for sure. and that allowed it to attract the right kind of talent and to keep people aligned on that very singular focus of who we are and what we were trying to accomplish. And I think that is the secret sauce of growth, right? That nobody really talks about, right? Like, yes, you need to know what you're doing. Yes, you need to be technically kind of aware of how to test and optimize and try these things. But at the same time, it's a question of being able to get everyone who has that same shared, mentality and culture and approach to do things, that ownership.
Get them
also
excited to do these things.
Yeah.
And even you can get very smart people. I've seen very smart people in terrible environments. And that's what. Why? And give me a reason why would they actually, overdo themselves.
Absolutely. No, 100%. And when you see organizations that don't have that culture, it's
I'm blaming the CMO.
yeah, exactly. But I think what's interesting too is these days, I've also tried to kind of look at organizations that I'd like to kind of support, either through kind of giving them resources and access to the services that we have as an organization, or sometimes even investing. And I find myself quickly kind of going through, okay, do I believe in the opportunity? Do I believe in the business? Do I believe in the industry? Do I believe in their tech? Do I believe in their solution? But fundamentally, does that organization and its leaders have the culture to succeed? And it's a very hard thing to measure, right? Especially in such an early stage startup. It's very hard to kind of identify what their culture is, but you end up measuring somebody individually.
Yeah.
The founder, right? And you end up investing in people more than you do in ideas or businesses, right? And I think more and more I find myself, and I had this conversation, I think, with Waleed on the last podcast, Waleed Mansour from MVP, is that he was also saying that it's more of an emotional job than it is a strategic or technical job. It's measuring human behavior and measuring kind of that, emotional intelligence to be able to measure somebody and see if they have that culture and that tenacity to succeed.
100%.
And then that will tell you whether somebody's going to grow or not, and I think I wonder if you see that in your clients, right? Is that kind of how you evaluate the opportunity?
Man. Every day. And I can tell which ones are going to grow faster than the others just again by the personality, man. Growth is a mindset, right? It's a culture, but it's a mindset. Before going to the technicalities, before going to the numbers.
So can you teach it?
You can manipulate it a bit, I would say. And again, just from some experience, like you can instill a growth mindset. You can instill what, you don't know. So with all due respect, Mr. CEO, you don't know, we're going to test, right? There's no, I think this will work. Oh, my wife yesterday in bed told me that, maybe you need to try that. You need to, let's test it, right? Let's put it. It's a good test, maybe let's do it. It's not a good idea, then again, we could potentially validate it. So, especially early stage founders, because for the first, let's say 20, 30 people, it's going to be that culture being passed to the, like you're investing in the entire potential talent that's coming. So, and if the guy is, or that, a guy that has a super high ego, and, you've seen a lot of these founders, I'm sure you've done. So these for a few, even with a great idea, man, honestly, you don't take clients like these. You just,
you can see it a mile away. Yeah.
It's gonna crash. I told you to do it. Yeah, Habibi, again, there is a process and you're not getting it.
It takes a certain discipline.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's a commitment to kind of telling somebody that you have to test a hypothesis rather than just go, which is natural for founders. It's like go, don't slow me down, move out of my way kind of mindset. Telling them that you need to test something.
You need to build that trust, really. Yeah. What I've noticed is that, for example, sometimes it's hard for the first couple of months, but then you start showing results, and then you start getting more ownership, and then one day is like, what, you're owning the entire growth thing. Do your thing, keep us in the loop, get more budget as you grow.
Yeah.
Build that. So with 2 clients, because these were like the oldest ones, been about a year that we're helping, is that خلاص يعني, they keeping informed on a monthly basis, man. We barely talk, we do our thing. We build that kind of relationship.
And okay, so I guess one area we should go into, and this is always on the tip of everyone's tongue when you talk to any startup that's in their second or third year. What does a healthy funnel look like in terms of paid versus organic versus, or whatever you want to define as organic, or non-trackable paid? what should a funnel look like if you're in your second or third year in business? If once you've gone through, your hyper growth phase in the first year or two, what is a healthy kind of funnel in your mind in terms of sustainable growth?
It really varies per product,
Sure.
obviously, and in the second or third year, what you should have by now, before just talking about the funnel, is that you should have figured out the channels first of all, the acquisition channels, the retention channels, and have built for yourself an engine, and that engine basically takes either money or takes users and produces more money,
output,
basically, right? Money, more leads, more whatever it is, right? And so based on the product and the testing that you've been doing for the first, couple of years, and the money that you've invested, and the ROI that you're seeking, or the funding that you want to close, etc. You'll be able to judge. So there's no kind of clear answer that I can say, is that you'd be able to know, for example, that from the moment a person is gonna land on my page till 2 weeks from now they're gonna convert, right? Or that my conversion rate is a stable 6% on this specific channel. So when this drops, there's probably something wrong in the market. There's something wrong elsewhere. But at the second or third year, I would say that you should totally be investing in a lot of new channels. So if you started, for example, with the core channels, that makes sense. You should start investing more. You should totally start investing in brand.
Yeah.
Especially again, if it's a product that needs some trust, needs some awareness before making a decision, and still trying to measure what makes sense. But for example, one of the e-com that we work with has 50% organic, right? So organic could be referral, could be direct search, could be he doesn't have enough competition, etc. He does, by the way, but so 50% is organic, 50% is paid growth, basically.
Cool. And then tell me why, in yours, I mean, I have my own perspective, but tell me why a new startup just starting would hire growth levers and not build in-house. What are the inherent kind of benefits, and then longer term, why would they what's the advantage of working with someone like you rather than building in-house, and how you kind of recommend people think about this? Yeah.
So the reason Growth Levers was built, last year, basically after my last job, started it, is because I've been in startups for the past 10 years, and I've worked in a couple of roles, and I identified this gap is where your product market fit, ideally, and then you want people to execute on everything related to growth, from data, from pushing marketing, from analyzing things, from scaling, etc., and even influencing product if you don't have a product. And then, so that's the gap. It's product, conversion rate optimization, data, marketing, all of that mix, where initial startups might have filled one or two of these gaps, but there's still the rest of the scope to be filled. And so they're gonna have technically how to solve this problem. Either you're gonna hire in-house, you have two options. You're well funded, or you wanna take a risk. You're gonna get strong people, pay a lot of money, more than you pay us, basically. Good for you if you can do it, and then the ROI is really measurable, and you know how to manage them, by the way, because you might be a non-technical founder, and then it's also hard to to get a team and not knowing really how to guide them. If you have the money, get strong talent, and then if you can manage them, or at least establish a clear KPI, and vision for what they're gonna do, that's great. If not, my recommendation, because I've seen it a lot, don't hire cheap, especially again if you don't know how to manage them. So that's out, right? The second option is go to traditional marketing agencies, and I usually recommend trying them, right? Because actually most of my clients come from it's a channel for me. It's not a competition, right? It's okay, you know what? Our account manager, wanna upsell us stuff, etc. So where we actually work as a team, right? As that extension of the team. And then this is kind of the problem that I've seen in a lot of startups is you might need work on CRO. We can do that. You might need, to invest very, very good in these two channels, maximize your ROI. We have experts, focusing on these channels. You want a growth lead, for example. I act sometimes as a growth lead, establishing the entire strategy, advising them on, where to raise funds, etc., etc. We have that. So it's super startup friendly. Price point is more expensive than traditional agencies, again, because honestly, for the caliber of the team that we have. but also less expensive than committing to a full-time team, especially from the beginning, where you might want, cash flow to invest elsewhere.
Is your objective to stay on board with the client long term?
The ideal objective is to try to get the talent for a client for a year, and within that year grow them a lot, really like over achieve, and then after that hire their actual marketing and growth team. So
in-house for them,
man.
and give them the key to the machine.
Our ideal goal is that, right? So like build a very strong foundation, and then hand them the key and make sure they get really good people to take over. Like that will be really ideal. This is how a startup should evolve.
What's your view on? Sorry, I'm just gonna keep bombarding you for questions, like tons of questions. What's your view on influencers? One thing that's really been a hard pill to swallow for me over the years is sometimes you build these amazing marketing engines, these digital marketing engines, and out of nowhere one day you decide to do an influencer marketing campaign, and at first it seems ridiculous, and you pay like, I don't know, 20, 30, 50,000 dirhams a post, at least back in the day. Then you realize it has better ROI than any digital marketing kind of effort that you do sometimes. And of course, there's a bunch of caveats with that. Like you have to have the right strategy, have the right audience, have the right influence, have the right content, have the right call to action. Find a way to measure it, tracking, blah blah blah. Right. So assuming all that's done 100% properly, what's your view of influencer marketing? Is that something you're going to suggest to your customers?
For some, we do actually, and it all goes back to, again, think about the product and think about, let's say, Facebook and Instagram. Okay, these are the 100,000.
Treat it as a channel.
This is the 100,000 people that we can reach by paid advertising, right? And this is an influencer who could potentially, like, with 500,000 followers, could reach that 100,000 as well, right? Like, if they really have a very good audience, if the influencer is on brand, makes sense to what you guys have been doing.
If their followers are engaged, if they know what they're doing.
Super good engagement, then this is a much faster way to achieve the goal. So by all means, right? And you should still be able to track it, right? Promo code, etc., link, you should still be able to.
If you have all of that, then why not go in
then
there?
why not?
Yeah, but, no, I agree. It's just, it's always been a very difficult pill to swallow, right? It's like, you do all this work, you build this whole engine, there's so much effort and science into it. Then all of a sudden you get one guy or girl to post something, and all of a sudden everything you've done is boom. Right?
The thing is, so you're going to see a spike. You're going to, see good numbers, etc. But now, okay, is it scalable? Will the influencer post tomorrow also? And the day after? They have their image. They're not billboards.
Sure, but there is arguably an endless kind of
pool of
influencers to some
this
extent.
Is where I wouldn't agree. Like,
okay.
We've worked with some, and some, like, actually, are super honest, straightforward, especially not the two big ones because of the reach also and how it works. And some are super, like, zero, nothing, right? Probably fake followers, etc. So really, again, if you can, like, look at the numbers, actually try to measure the engagement rate, the actual engagement rate, and then test them for a little commitment first, and then if it works, then do more. And ideally for me, like, the way we would like to work with influencers is that, revenue share. You're that good, you're an influencer, you're an actual influencer, as the name says, is like, so influences these sales, and then, get more money than per post. I don't like the per post thingy.
Of course.
It's like, I don't guarantee anything, I'm just gonna post. You're not a billboard, you're an influencer.
But some people still do that.
But for the billboard, you pay because it's a fixed thing, it doesn't move, right? And then there's a company and agency behind it. But for a person who is comfortable to sell you the service, I think there should be some commitment.
What's your...
Wait, do you agree or not?
I mean, yes and no. I mean,
There shouldn't be any commitment.
No, there should, of course, be a commitment. I mean, in an ideal scenario, of course. But sometimes that's not on the table, right? Sometimes it's not on the table, and you know that it's still worth it, right? Sometimes you know that.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
If you have historical data, of course.
Yes, right? So sometimes, I mean, it has happened several times in my roles that I don't want to do something, but I know that it makes sense, right? So you have to do it. On that front, I want to talk to you about something. This week, I deleted my Facebook account and my Instagram account.
Wow. One less person to target.
Yeah, one less person to target. And that's specifically what I want to talk about. Did you watch The Social Dilemma?
Yeah.
Nothing new. I don't think I was educated much on anything, but the narrative and the story and the way they did it really, really struck me personally. And it's kind of like this love-hate relationship I have with social media and the internet and tech in general. First of all, what was your opinion on that movie?
Like same as yours, nothing new much, right? But like being able to observe it from that angle is like actually, you know, how machine learning works, etc. It's cute. My view is that if you're not paying for the product, you are the product, and that's it. Nothing's for free. You're not gonna use WhatsApp for free just because you know you exist, and you're not gonna use Facebook for free. And my honest view about it is that so you're gonna see ads, right? Same way you see them on billboards, see them you see them everywhere else. At least if marketing is done right, you're gonna see relevant ads. So right, businesses run on advertising, right? You don't advertise yourself. You're a brand, right? People know you. People have heard of you. That's how you get some of your clients, if not most of your clients, right? Yeah. So there's a brand that got some visibility. So right, people and brands need that used effectively. And you know, making sure that the right people are seeing the right message, and this is how most social or like advertising platforms work. Is that you want to make sure that they maximize the value of the ad. By the way, so value of the ad is really how engaging it is, how relevant, how much the click-through rate is. You know, like they measure a lot of stuff to make sure they keep as good of an experience as possible on the platform. Because otherwise, people are leaving, then there's no product. Because again, the network is the product. So my view is that since you're not paying for it and you can get relevant ads, I mean, it's up to you as a potential consumer to try new things or not, or skip them.
I mean, I don't disagree with what you're saying. The thing that struck me to kind of delete and change very much what I'm doing was the realization that I didn't necessarily have the control that I thought that I had.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, you don't.
You don't, and I think when we position something as the difference is relevancy, it's questionable, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And relevancy and emotional psychology is a huge piece of that relevancy, right?
Yeah.
Like making something appear to be relevant and appropriate is an emotional psychological kind of trick that these platforms have.
Totally.
Right? And so, for a long time I was like, I remember when I joined, I think specifically Noon at the time. I was like, this is amazing because I don't remember the last time I went to a mall. Malls are inconvenient. Malls are like a waste of total time. And then if you try to compare, okay, well, what's changed? I mean, I haven't saved more time because I don't go to the mall. I just spent all that time in a digital mall.
Yeah.
And that digital mall is both the social media platform and the e-commerce platform because they're one of the same, right? Because my journey to the mall includes a radio ad, includes a billboard, but instead I've replaced that with a social media ad that then takes me to Noon or Amazon or Spree or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So that misconception that I've now gained all this time and my life is so much more efficient and convenient, and I now have this whole new lifestyle, more time for me, is total bullshit.
Yeah.
Essentially, I've just replaced it with this instead of a physical experience, right? And when I noticed that, I remember when I just joined like the whole e-commerce push and all that stuff, I was like, malls are dead, they're completely useless. But in fact, those physical experiences, I validate and I value more.
Bring you more happiness, right?
They brought me more happiness, if I think, but I would do it with my wife, I would do it with my friends, I would go have a coffee in the process.
Meet a potential friend that
I would participate in life, in a physical life more, and then this whole misconception, this makes things more efficient, quick, next day, same day delivery, show ads, relevant ads, all that's really happened is I've lost my perception of reality in terms of what I am choosing, myself.
Yeah.
And this doesn't have to be a psychological conversation, but what I'm realizing is where do you draw the line? And I decided to draw the line. I decided I am arguably building brands and helping and advising people on building brands on these platforms, right? So I'm living on the edge of what I'm selling and what I'm believing, right? So it's a double-edged sword, but arguably what you're doing is exactly the same thing as me, but you're doing it on the performance side, but I'm doing it on the brand and content side. I'm trying to keep people attached to the brand digitally as well. So we're doing the same things on different sides of the spectrum, but how does that make you feel these days? I mean, that movie really struck me and has really changed my perspective. Has it?
Got you, man. Honestly,
do you feel that?
I
need some water.
Yeah.
Tell me.
Yeah, if you can. Look, what I also think radically is that also it's on. So yeah, like social networks in general are programmed to, as you saw in the movie, right, to steal more of your attention and to steal more of your time, right? But at the end of the day, we're also human beings. Like for example, personally, I don't use Instagram unless I want to check an ad or something. Facebook has dropped significantly, like maybe 10% of what I used to use it.
Yeah.
And then mostly it's on LinkedIn, really getting educated, connecting with people, doing some business, like checking up on, my colleagues, etc. So I chose to use it, in that specific way. And honestly, I'll blame people, like you drew the line, right? And everyone can do that.
Yeah, and I think you're right. I think Facebook agreed. That was the easiest decision I ever had to make, right? I think the only reason I ever checked Facebook was
Just
to see how many...
LinkedIn.
I think most people, the only reason I went on Facebook to see who wished me happy birthday once a year, right? I think that was about it. LinkedIn, I think we're quite active because also it's where we are in our careers. We're building our careers. We're building networks.
It's your community, professional community.
It's a professional community, and it's significantly more important, especially in the time of
unprecedented times.
Unprecedented times. I think the investment that you make on your professional network has been kind of multiplied. Instagram was my guilty pleasure.
Okay.
I think I completely lost control of how much time I spent on Instagram. It was crazy, right? And I think that was the more difficult one for me to do. And I started to realize the difference in how that platform evolved. When we first started using Instagram, all of the content was our friends.
Yeah.
Our friends, our family, it was completely social. Over time, people stopped contributing. People got lazy or their engagement was quite low and they were just consuming rather than contributing. And I started to notice Instagram for me was 99.9% brand content. And then
polished.
And it wasn't real. There was hardly anyone
polished.
Yeah, it was all like, brand content. It wasn't like user content anymore. And so, I realized over time I was just feeding into the whole cycle of it, and I think when I watched Social Dilemma, it completely switched me. I knew it, but it was just like, okay, enough.
No, you made a conscious choice, man, and that's how people owe it to themselves.
Twitter, on the other hand, I still can't get rid of.
Twitter, man, is fun. Twitter is actually fun. It's informative. Again, depends on how you use it. I really think it depends how you use it and what kind of self-awareness and control you have over your usage.
Would you let your children use social media if you had children? Tough question.
No, look, I think I'm gonna let them try a lot of things, but I'll monitor from a bit far, and then if things go over control, then.
It's funny. I have a 2-year-old, and now I look at her and I'm like, holy shit, no.
Please, don't start. Not yet.
Not at all, right?
It's like smoking, man, when we were kids. Right?
Exactly. It's like, no, please don't do this. Please don't do this. I actually think 10 years, 15 years from now, there's going to be like warning signs when you log into a social media platform. Warning, this is highly addictive, please. You know what I mean? I think the government's going to like tax them like crazy and then put a warning sign just like on cigarette packs. I think it'll be funny looking back on this kind of 10 years from now and seeing how it's kind of impacted our society. For better and worse, right? Cool. What's your kind of? I think we've been talking for quite a long time, but I just wanted to kind of, talk about this topic a little bit. What's your view on sustainable growth as a whole? So we've talked about testing, we've talked about performance marketing, we've talked a little bit about product market fit. We've talked about kind of customer experience and customer service. We've talked about all these things. You start a company tomorrow, a new company. You pick an industry of your choice. How do you build and how do you approach the idea of sustainable growth today? Based on two things. Based on supposedly the money markets being not so bullish on scale or die narratives anymore. It's sustainable growth is on the tip of everyone's tongue, or profitability is on the tip of everyone's tongue. So keep that as kind of like a goalpost. And the other goalpost being you actually want to build, I would say, a healthy, sustainable kind of loyal funnel of customers, that doesn't require an exponential investment for your growth, even if it's profitable.
Got you. It's funny because I've been thinking about that a lot, and then like part of what I see our company doing later is also investing in our own startups, because if we're helping
Absolutely.
15 every year, we might as well help ourselves
Sure.
with a couple. So I'm very interested in the subscription model because it kind of tests the entire business model very fast, and then first you have to build loyalty, you have to over
Very
deliver.
valuable experience.
Super, exactly. You have to pick the right product, and then it's super profitable. Like subscription, man. If you compare cost per acquisition
100%.
for LTV, man, it's like one of the best business models when it comes to, again, depending on the industry. And so I will choose something like that because it's. I don't want exponential growth from day one, but like you're really building scalable growth, step by step, reinvesting, growing the community, and it's very community driven usually. Like
Yeah.
subscription, for example, Dollar Shave Club, right? Like they built a huge community, they built a huge brand. They grew very fast back then,
Sure.
so it's one of like the exception, not the rule. But you've seen how fast they grew and how how their story was. So I love subscription based models because again, it tests the entire company. Are you good in customer experience? Is the product making sense? Do people return, not just returning, to scroll your website? Are they paying you every single month? And if yes, then it's a win.
I think that's super interesting because any business can be a subscription model, right? So I think you're right. If a business can pull off a subscription product, then it validates whether or not the product is valuable or not, and if customers are willing to hold on to it long enough. And then it also kind of helps set the value of the product too. So it kind of helps you
Because you
understand.
have a lot of touch points also.
Exactly.
Every month you're seeing them. Every month could be something new. You have a channel to build brand, by the way, to build that relationship. Because every single month you're talking with them. Again, build loyalty. So there's a lot of things you can play with.
Is that something that startups are open to, or you think that's something that most people look at in second or third stages of their business? You think startups should focus on subscription models to begin with?
Oh yeah, man. Like one of our startups, by the way, and this is one of like the exception also. It's a solo founder, has a full-time job. Of course, I'm not naming.
Sure.
Has a full-time job, has 2 kids and the wife, full-time wife, and built this businessman from zero. He's also a friend, so I helped him for free in the beginning, right? Today he has 100 members. It's subscription-based, making 50,000 dirhams now monthly within less than 4 months of going live.
Wow.
Keeping his job, raised $1 million alone. We helped him.
But he has no
that way.
team. He's independent.
That's a hustler, man. That's a nice
Wow.
story, right? No one knows him. No one knows him. He has a full-time job. But for me, this is one of the reasons I like doing what I'm doing, man. It's these kind of people who inspire you. Like he's a hustler, man. He still spends time with family. And by the way, the key here is that how he prioritizes and build the business. Like step 1, I'm gonna do this. Step 2, this. 3, 4, 5. Fun part is that he had a co-founder and he had a lot of failures while doing it. He had a co-founder, didn't work out, managed to pull the co-founder out of the business, maintaining 100% equity. Like he's a shark, smart,
Fantastic.
super open-minded, trusting.
And he's building a subscription business, and he has
Subscription.
100 subscribers.
Yeah.
Generates 50,000 dirhams a month. Wow. How old is the business? How long did it take him to get there?
4 months.
Wow.
4 months. Yeah, man.
That's amazing.
And like 80% return rate. So like months on months, you're only losing about 20% of people who might not, but 80%.
Scalable.
Super. True scalable. Now we only invest from the profits into marketing and acquiring more supply. And the only reason he raised funds, which by the way should be for any startup, is to keep up with the demand, basically. That was his unique reason. Still didn't hire anyone. Might hire soon customer service person who does some community management on the side.
Fantastic.
That's it. Unique, man, alone, right? And then you have that kind of same, like as opposed to a lead that came to me about maybe 6 months ago, right? Hey, guess what? We're 17 people, raised $1.7 million, right? Yeah. Do you want to work with us? It's like, man, easy. What's the product? Oh yeah, we're gonna do this, and this. There's no product yet. No, we didn't launch, by the way. Okay. And currently we're working with the 2 other agencies, but it's always nice to to get like more feedback to see who's doing better. I said, man, يعني, sorry, يعني,
The writing's on the wall,
If
you
that's
see it,
how
yeah.
you're treating the other guys,
Yeah.
I'm definitely out. Sorry. You're sure it's like 1.7 million? He repeated it twice. He's like, man, good luck. There's gonna be startups dying to get 100,000, and this guy has 1.7. It's like, what's happening with the world, man? 17 people, no product, super high ego.
But there's a lot of those now, right? I think the region is going to see more and more of that. I think we have a region that's overfunded at the moment. I think that's clear. The amount of money that's available now is crazy. I think you're going to have a lot of founders who are going to be oversubscribed and they're going to raise more money than they need.
But that's not something good. Yeah, that's the problem. It's like celebrating you sold more of your company.
I disagree, depending on how you look at it. So it's not good for the company, for sure. It's not good because it's false kind of delusion of grandeur, right? It's not real accomplishment, and they're celebrating the wrong things. Totally.
Depends on the stage.
So here's what I would say: it depends how you look at it. So if you take a step back, what's wrong with our region?
No belief in founders
and no talent, right? So whatever you're building, if it's a tech kind of enabled business, or a tech business even,
100%.
There is a huge gap in access to talent and talent that has experience, that has done it before, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
And guess what the best way to attract talent is? The best way to attract talent is to fund endless amount of startups so that those startups can hire and that those startups could attract talent from outside the region, irrespective of whether they succeed or fail. So my perspective is the following. If you have 100 VCs that have, I don't know, $20 to $50 million each, and they're all investing in companies, and big ego, small ego, good idea, bad idea, I don't give a shit. But if they're all getting funded, they're all going to attract talent.
Yeah, inevitably we're solving the problem at least.
Exactly. So what's going to happen is all this talent's going to come to the region. Within a year or two, they'll fail or they'll succeed. Whether they fail or not, they would have learned something.
Exactly.
They would have learned, what not to do, what works, what doesn't work, et cetera, et cetera. And guess what? That talent's still going to be here. And the second cycle of startups is going to come out of these guys.
And the bar is higher.
Is based on experience, based on learning, and then that's going to take off. So I agree with you. There's companies that shouldn't be funded. There's founders that shouldn't be founders. There's ideas that are complete garbage, and there's some that are amazing. But the byproduct of all this is, yes, there's too much money in the market, but you know what it means? It means that in 2021, 2022, we're going to start to see kind of that caliber improve, and we're going to see the pool of talent be kind of more abundant, and then we'll all benefit. For all the builders out there that still want to build companies, I think from a digital marketing perspective, from a branding perspective, from an operations perspective, from a tech, engineering perspective, we're all going to benefit, because this kind of gold rush of startups of just, endless access to cash is generally good, irrespective of the success rates at the end of the day. I think we're at a stage where the most important thing that we need, the biggest output we need for the region of an ecosystem, I hate to use that word all the time, but is talent.
True, no, 100%. Look, let me rephrase, is that I'd love all the startups to get funded. It's just like at the right time, at the right stage. So don't get 1.7 before starting and hiring 20 people without figuring out the product. Get $500,000, build a very good product, get another $1 million later, right? It's just gonna blur a little bit your...
But I also think that the onus is on the VCs too, right? Because like a VC who makes an investment in a company that doesn't have a product that has, 20, 30 people on the payroll and kind of really nothing to invest in.
It's an exception as well. Right?
Yeah, it's a different conversation, I think, as well. But I think the onus is on them too. I mean, they should be the more mature, kind of experienced kind of players in this scenario. But it just proves that maybe they're not, right? Okay, we've been talking for I think an hour at this point. It's been obviously amazing to have you here. The conversation has been great. I think I learned a lot. I think I could talk to you for probably another half hour, 45 minutes on a bunch of topics. But I'm in an effort of respecting your time and the time of the people who were listening to us. I just would like to say thank you very much. Appreciate it. And hopefully we'll have you on in 6 months and we'll have different stories to talk about.
Oh, that would be great, man. Thank you so much for your time, for having me. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. All right, this is episode 2 of Samer. Part 2 of our conversation. We just realized we had more to talk about and that we weren't kind of satisfied with the conversation that we had, and we had more in our chest. So we decided to fuck it. Let's just do a part 2 to our episode. The topic that we want to start with, that we were just talking about, and we wanted everyone kind of to hear, is the amount of let's call it BS or bullshit that's out there in terms of and it's funny because we talked about it on the last episode with Waleed, but I think with you we should probably dive into it a bit more, and that's the amount of kind of effort and energy and money that's put into hype that doesn't bring anything to anyone, and that a lot of people fall for.
It's a scam, man. It's pure scam. Basically.
Pure scam. Yeah. I think it would be great if you could just share the story that you just shared. I think that's a great way to kind of dive into it.
Yeah, man. So 2 days ago, sitting, working, minding my business, got an email. Hey, Sam, congrats. You've been nominated to, top tech leader of MENA. It's like,
Fucking awesome.
Finally, someone noticed.
I made it.
Right. So it's obvious, these kind of schemes.
Of course.
I try, very well written email, right? Like shows
Fantastic.
the scarcity, shows like you need to confirm otherwise.
Absolutely.
And then, fine print, $2,500 to cover our marketing costs, etc. And also if you wanna get the cover, then let's talk privately because there's only, one dude who's gonna get it. And then I was okay, thanks, you're moving from the list. But also I was curious, does it actually work? Are there people actually, it's a business, right?
Absolutely.
There's a domain, there's everything with it. It's a mag, right? Tag mag, Middle East, wherever, I forgot the name. So I click, man, and they have 20, either fake or real, I don't know, but they have 20 issues. 20 issues times 10, 200 founders, tech leader, let's call them tech leaders, right? Yeah. Who paid that, man? So paid to be featured.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised. I think I was kind of approached several times at Kareem, at Noon, etc. So I'm completely conscious of what you're talking about, and I know which organizations we're talking about. Big publishing houses, big media companies, etc.
From all sizes.
From all sizes, and it's funny. On one side of the spectrum, I think it's obvious to us that it's total bullshit.
I mean, they don't know anything about me.
It's an ad. We're part of a funnel, right? And I think on one side, I absolutely agree with you. It's total bullshit. It's incredible. On the other side, you have to ask yourself, why do they do this if it doesn't work?
No, but that's what's sad about it.
Yes.
Right?
So it's okay, let's get Samer on the cover. And you know what? Samer can ask himself whether or not the investment is worth it. But the fact that more and more people do it and that cycle continues means that somebody thinks it's important to be on the cover of a magazine.
Look, man, straightforward is you're covering up for something else. You failed somewhere and now you want to put your face to look successful or to please your father. I don't know what kind of issues, but basically you're just trying to compensate. But this is not money
But what I'm saying is, I agree with you. It's not money that anyone should be spending. But what I'm saying is people might be spending it because it might work in certain circles depending on your objective, right? So I agree with you. For an early stage startup, it's total bullshit. Do not waste your money on that.
Yeah.
On people within our space and probably, the only validation is your peers and your colleagues, right?
Yeah.
Totally agree with that. Unfortunately, if this keeps happening, then it must mean that somebody is actually paying attention to that and actually validates, the value of it. Is it other investors? Is it bigger brands? If my face is on a magazine, does it mean maybe that the bigger brands will come to see me?
Also depends who's
right.
Who's on the other side.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I wonder, if my face is on a coffee table somewhere, I'm sure the startup ecosystem will be wow, it's total bullshit.
Proof,
but I think if I'm a CEO,
you might also lose clients, right?
You might also lose clients, especially in the space that we operate in. But what I mean is, if my face is on a coffee table,
30 under 30,
in the
40 under 40.
Yeah, exactly. If my face is on a magazine in a hotel lobby and a CEO of a big brand, multinational brand sees it and it says the Middle East's next and most influential kind of entrepreneur, brand builder, then maybe I'll get that big behemoth customer, and maybe that's the best way to get it because that's the only way they'll kind of take note to me.
Yeah.
Right. And
depends if you also put ex Kareem next to
that's even better. Yeah, I should put that on my profile, right?
Yeah.
I should say ex Kareem next to my name. I think people would love that.
Then it's double validation.
Don't even go there. I mean that shit drives me mental, by the way.
I mean these could validate something, right? But at the end of the day, the people you want to do business with, the people who you want to actually work or hire, it should be based on merit. That's it.
Yeah, I think. Listen, I think on the LinkedIn name thing, which is what you were alluding to, I'm super proud of every role I've ever had and everything I did. Lauren and I know each other from noon. Steve, our managing director, we were together at Kareem. And I'm super proud of all my work. And sometimes I have the itch to write ex-Kareem because I'm so proud. And I get it totally. But I do not want to be identified as an ex-Kareem. I want to be identified as Christian Eid.
Exactly.
Right?
That is my point.
As my current accomplishments.
Exactly.
My past has got me to this point. I'm super proud of it.
Why are you still there? Why are you still there? Like the guy that puts it, or
you know why? It's probably like an emotional kind of psychology thing for me. The reason I don't write ex-Kareem is because I don't want to feel like I've already peaked.
Yeah.
Right. And that my most exciting
is what you did 5 years ago.
Exactly. And I want to always identify with my potential and my future rather than my past.
Look, bro, also, there's like 1,000 ex-Kareem.
I'm so happy we started recording again. Yeah, it's like a real fucking conversation.
No, there's 1,000 ex-Kareem.
Yeah.
Are all good? You work there. Are all good?
I'm not going to confirm or deny.
Okay, well,
Statistically, no.
There's one that is not good, right?
Statistically,
he puts ex-Kareem there. He makes it as good as you, who doesn't even put it.
Sure.
I think it's relevant.
I completely agree. But I also think in this day and age, I think people read through that stuff as well.
Yeah.
I think recruiters, people who hire people. I think a lot of people kind of read through that, but I don't think it's everybody.
Well, the only thing I'm saying is that you are bigger than any brand you worked for. You as a person,
sure,
you are bigger,
sure,
right? A company is the accomplishment and the result of all these big people to become where it is. But you as an individual, you should identify yourself as your own brand, your own personal brand. This is what's gonna last.
But you know what's funny? Before people used to write ex-Kareem or ex-Uber or ex-whatever, you used to see a lot of people that used to write ex-Google, ex-Facebook.
Yeah.
And did we have the same impression of that as we did the local branch?
No, look, honestly, for me, it applies everywhere, right? But because of my network here, I see a lot of local... it's not just Kareem. Like, Kareem is the biggest, so of course.
Sure.
We talk about Kareem, but I mean, again, in general, you should be recognized for your accomplishments, not for just the places that accepted you at that time. What if Kareem fired you, and you can still use it? Like, again, it's just nonsense.
Yeah.
And I'm sure.
So what you're saying is that it's not an indicator of
success.
Of
course not.
Of course.
But how many places your accomplishments at Kareem got you?
Yeah. Very different. Very different. Yeah, absolutely.
And it's probably because of your attitude, is that you don't want to shove it.
No, right? and to be honest, I think the reason I don't do any of that stuff and I don't respect that kind of stuff either, it really bothers me, is I really don't want to be associated to something. I don't want to. I have had a career in a specific place. I am not me because of Kareem, right? So for me, keeping that next to my name is like saying it's as valuable as my family name. It's not.
Thanks, man. Exactly.
Right. So my name is Christian Eid. It's not Christian Eid ex Kareem, ex Noon, ex Rocket. And yes, I think it's very valuable information to know who I am, to know my journey. And I will tell everybody that I know who wants to understand my background, I will tell them my story.
Exactly.
I think that's super important. And if you're super interested in me, you should also just scroll down my profile and you'll see my experiences. That's the whole point of the profile. So I'm on the same page with you as that. If we go back to the BS and the scams and all that stuff, listen, I think our region is one that is very, very quick to pat itself on the back.
Yeah.
Right. And I think there's benefit in that. And I think there's kind of disadvantages to that. I think there's benefit in celebrating success and celebrating accomplishment. I think that's fantastic. We're really good at that over here. And I think, when I compare societies, for example, some societies are a lot more cynical.
Yeah.
Right. So, for example, I just spent 2 months in Canada. Canada is a society that's a bit more cynical, I would say, versus Dubai.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, I don't want to, light any fires or any issues, but culturally, as two regions in Dubai, we are very, very good at celebrating successes. Yeah. We're very bad at acknowledging failures. Mm-hmm. We're very bad at it. Failures happen, we don't even notice them happen. We just stop talking about it. If two people disagree, we avoid the confrontation. right? If somebody thinks something is good or bad, we just don't talk about it. If it's good, we'll talk about it. If it's bad, we won't talk about it. That's just the nature of our society and our culture as a whole. And there is a negative byproduct of that too, right? So I think you know, in a past guest, I don't know who it was. It might have been Waleed because it's the freshest one too. But we were talking about AWOC, right? AWOC, you know, news came out finally, but everyone knew. It was like 12 months. Everybody in the ecosystem knew AWOC was like struggling like crazy. Yeah. Everyone knew, but nobody would talk about it out loud. And all of a sudden, you know, this report came out and said, "Oh, finally, AWOC is closing its doors, and this and that, this and that, this and that." And it's like nobody talks about it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's super, and the angle is that it's all been put on like the management and the mismanagement and the founder and all that stuff. But there's so many other things at play.
Of course,
so many other things at play, and I think we have to be able to have those mature conversations in our society in order to progress. And we don't have it.
Look how do you learn? Do you learn from success or from failure, honestly? What?
Failure. Total failure.
Can't learn from success because you've already done it. Like
Totally.
You know exactly how to get there.
Yeah.
It's when it doesn't work.
Absolutely. And on the whole fake thing, I just want to say another thing. You know, and I'm going to be careful with this because I have to be careful how we position ourselves. But like, there are a lot of in the region of gurus and experienced kind of leaders and all these things, and you know, the glorified entrepreneurs and all these things. There's endless kind of resources. There's endless lineup of people who will claim to be, the best of the best at this and that and know how to do everything. And we have mentors who are mentoring people that have to do things that they've never done themselves. Yeah. We have investors who have no concept of how to evaluate businesses.
Have accelerators that have never built a startup. Yeah.
So we have, and I think that stands true. I think globally, I think there's a lot of that stuff. There's a lot of fake it kind of characters out there. But more and more, I think in the region we're seeing this, right? And I think there needs to be some sort of accountability there, because I've seen endless platforms being given and clients being cheated into. I mean, and people that we've worked with. I'm not going to name names either. I've had clients who've said, what's your opinion of this guy or this girl or this organization, this thing, and we had a negative experience about this and this and this, and then when you dig a little bit deeper, they're selling experience that they don't have. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And I have to be careful because we sell experience as well. Like as advisors, you and I, we're basing our product on the successes and failures that we've had too, right? And saying, hey, like don't make the same mistakes we made. Like learn from us and allow us to tell you.
And guess what? We're gonna learn with you also. Yeah. So
I'm gonna be very careful here because I'm very biased to say that yes, I've done it and I know what I've done, but I have actually done it. But it's something that in our region is not always crystal clear, and I think a lot of startups get tricked into this, right? I think, and there's a very big difference between. Let me give you, I think, an example in a conversation I think we need to have. Running, let's say, a department within an established organization and managing and maintaining something is very different than, it's not the same thing as building something. And I think that distinction is not always made, right? So for example, if you've managed a digital marketing team in an established organization for 3 years
with $1 million,
it does not qualify you to build a digital marketing team from scratch because you don't necessarily have the same experience. It does not mean that you're not valuable. It doesn't mean that you're not valuable in the ecosystem or in the market. There are roles for that profile, but you are not necessarily a fit to build a marketing organization, to build kind of the engine that we were talking about, to identify the channels, to set up the basic kind of systems in place, the data analytics that you need, the trackers and stuff. There's a huge gap in knowledge and know-how. Yeah. And I'm also suggesting, and I'll say this about myself, I am not the right person to manage a corporate already established engine. Exactly. Right? Exactly. So I don't have the skill set to do that. Right? I don't have the interest nor the skill set. Mm-hmm. Right? And I tried, by the way. I tried at OSN, for example. I tried. I think I had lots of success and I had lots of failure as well there, right? So I'm conscious of that, but I don't think that the market can distinguish the difference between these profiles. You know what I mean? There
Yeah.
are builders and there are managers.
Yeah, man.
And I'm not saying that some people can't do both. I'm saying some can, but generally speaking, that line needs to be drawn.
This doesn't qualify for this. That's it, right?
Yeah.
Like, they could do a great job, but like this experience doesn't qualify you to do something very different.
Exactly.
And then again, drawing the line and yeah. Look, man, it all also goes back to how real the people are, right? Like, again, I've known you since a while. That's why we like each other, right? Like, we don't talk every single day, but honest, man, it's when you're real, right?
Yeah.
When you're gonna be honest, when you're not gonna get a client just to, bill more, even though you know you're not gonna deliver. You're just not gonna make it. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
It's not.
yeah.
It's not sustainable. Also, by the way.
Yeah, and I mean, to be honest, like I these days tend to refuse a lot of business just based on a mismatch, right? And even if I think that I can add value, it doesn't make sense. And I think those are the types of conversations, and that's the type of kind of scenario that I hope is kind of the benchmark in the region. But I don't think that's true. I think we have a lot of people in the market here that are selling services and experiences that just aren't substantiated.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that has a negative impact on everybody, right? On the credibility of our space and our industry, on kind of the success of companies, etc. So that's something that will continue to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dan, a question for you.
Yes, tell me.
So what's the plan? You're doing good, I guess.
All right.
I'm happy that like you've been helping all these startups and companies.
Yeah.
I love your work.
Yeah.
And then what? I know you like to juggle.
Yeah. So the tables have turned, and I guess I'm the one being interviewed today.
Mhm.
So what are we doing? Actually, the best person to ask that question to is Lauren. She basically manages all the chaos.
Okay.
You guys can't see Lauren, but Lauren is basically the person that helps us stay organized. That is basically the chef d'orchestre of everything DUCKLIFE. So let me kind of lay it out. DUCKLIFE is our advisory. It's our core business. We help companies build their brands, refresh their brands, create content.
Like, who's your ideal customer? What stage?
What we like is honestly what we fit into the most is like mid-stage startup. I think is
Series A.
I think Series A, Series B is probably our sweet spot of what we like.
There's still room to play.
Yeah, there's still room to play. They have their shit a bit, in order. They kind of figured out who they are a little bit, but they're getting a lot of the fundamentals still wrong. But the base is there, and I think that's fun because they've learned a little bit. They know what they're good at, what they're bad at. Their ego is kind of rested a little bit, and I think that's where we can add a lot of value. I think like any business, you need money makers and then you need passion projects. So I think that's a healthy mix.
Yep.
I would say mid-stage companies are our passion projects. We do earlier stage as well, of course. And
You do pro bono.
I wouldn't call it pro bono, but I would call it work at cost kind of basis.
Okay.
Cover at least our expenses. There is pro bono on personal levels,
Okay.
but not
That's
on
what I meant
organizational.
also,
Yeah,
as
on personal levels, yes, I do pro bono all the time. Then you need those big behemoth customers.
Yep.
You need those guys that you can make that big margin on, and they're conscious of it too. They understand that we serve both ends of the spectrum, and they're okay with the pricing difference too, right? Like I think it's people misconceive or misunderstand how the world works. Big customers that have big margins and healthy budgets are absolutely conscious of how they are treated vis-a-vis smaller customers, and I think that's normal for anything.
Yeah.
And so we need that as a business too, right? In order to fund our passion projects, to kind of allow us to do the things that we want to do to grow, right? So that's DUCKLIFE. We're an advisory for brand marketing and everything kind of under the sun of those topics. The other thing we do is informally, and we're not structured as a fund or anything. Myself and as an organization sometimes make investments in early stage startups. That does not mean that you can send us pitch decks and stuff like that. That's not typically how we function. We're not a fund. It's more a passion-driven thing where we identify organizations that we like, business models that we love, founders that we believe in, and we'll invest in them. It's not very formal. It's just something that we do quite regularly these days. And I think for me, my interest on that front is I want to stay at the forefront of what's happening. I want to keep my mind fresh. I want to learn. It's just my nature. The other thing we're doing in October, a big piece that Lauren's leading is we're launching a fashion line.
Okay.
We're launching a high-end streetwear fashion line in collaboration with the United Nations High Commission for Refugee. Yes, that's a plug for the UN.
Oh.
But it's actually really cool. It's a super high-end streetwear. In my opinion, really well made, really high quality and stuff like that. And it's going to be, quite expensive. The tagline I think you'll like. The tagline is exorbitant margins with a purpose.
Oh.
So it's kind of like a stab at luxury where they charge you huge margins just so they can get rich. Where we're doing it so we can, pay it forward to refugees.
Uh-huh.
And that's launching hopefully, I would say probably mid-October, end October at the latest. And yeah, it's I'm really proud of it. I think it's something that's going to be pretty cool. And as soon as that's launched, we're going to start the second collection. It's going to be seasonal collections. So we're going to start doing that as well. And okay, this is the part that you wanted to get to. And I'm a product guy at the end of the day. I'm a builder of things. And our ambition as a company is also to launch another concept, another company, another business, another tech-based business. I've showed it to you, so you've seen parts of it. So I'm super excited for it. I think it's something that we'll probably be able to kind of start to test as a product, probably in the earlier part of next year. So yeah, I think in a nutshell, we have our hands kind of full.
Okay.
So yeah, I think, and we have the podcast.
And the podcast.
And there's always another project. But yeah, I think my personality
how are you splitting your time? Like, are you, like, is it whenever you're not busy at DUCKLIFE, you're on the other ones, or is it like...
It's everything at the same time.
Everything at the same time. Every day.
Every day.
Nice.
She's nodding her head. I wish we could turn the camera. But it's everything at the same time. And you know what? I need to say this. Like, I think we're blessed to have a group of people at DUCKLIFE that have that ambition, that also, like, I think Lauren will argue with me from time to time and debate about, are we doing too much? Do we have enough time for certain things? And I think those conversations are super healthy.
Of course.
And we need to have somebody that has some sanity. And that's what I think Lauren brings to the table a lot of the time. But I think at the end of the day, all of us have that ambition. All of us want to be doing many things. And I'm blessed to have a group of people with us that have the same mindset that I do, I think. I hope, actually. And when you have a good team, honestly, you could do anything, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, so we're going to keep building. We're going to keep helping customers. We're going to keep building brands. We're going to keep making ourselves proud. And what people also don't realize is when we built DUCKLIFE, a big kind of underlying objective is to be able to kind of pay it forward. And we continuously, even during COVID, which was a very difficult thing to do, but necessary, is to continue contributing to our commitment to refugees. So on a quarterly basis, a portion of our revenue, a percentage of our revenue, we treat it as a cost, still goes to our cash, what's it called? The cash, I can't remember what it was called, but it's a cash assistance program.
Okay.
That we fund with the United Nations High Commission for Refugees, MENA organization.
Wow, that's very nice, man.
So
not a lot of people. I think maybe you mentioned it once, but I don't.
Most people aren't aware of
your level of commitment, but like.
No, it's fundamental to our business. It's critical to our business. Everything we do, any revenue that we make, a large portion of it, considering the size of our business, a large portion of it goes to the kind of program that we have with the United Nations. And I think that's fundamentally what we're trying to prove too, is that
you can do both, right?
You don't have, yes, I mean, we're
have
super...
to compromise.
You can make money and you can help people at the same time. And I think we've reached an era in kind of humanity and society where kind of consumers demand more of us. You can't just be a capitalist and, grow, eat.
Exactly.
And have that selfish approach. I think shareholder value as a concept is dead in my mind. And there needs to be a greater kind of community value that you can create as an organization, as a brand. And if you don't think outside of your shareholder value, then you know, we're going to continue having the problems we do as a planet with climate change, like the societal gap in wealth that we have. It's unprecedented. We've never had such a big gap between rich and poor. I mean, there's still a billion people in the world in this day and age in 2020 that don't have access to clean water.
Yeah.
You know, the things that you would expect not to exist anymore would not. I mean, people probably ignore them and kind of brush it under the rug a little bit, but we have all these things and they're getting worse and worse, right? So I think a big part of what we're trying to do is prove that you can make money and you can help and you can be a positive, you know, participant in community. But anyhow,
100%,
yeah, that's what we're doing.
I salute you for that. No, really, because that also excites you to make more money, right? The more you're gonna make, the more you're gonna share. So
yeah,
it's a win-win.
I think I just want to be careful how we use kind of money, but to your point, I just want to make it clear that our perspective is the following. Money does not solve problems. Money does not buy happiness, but money brings certain freedoms to people that they might not have had before. So when a refugee in a camp in Lebanon or in Jordan gets financed through the cash assistance program, it buys them the security to feel stability of shelter, of warmth, of food, of the basics of what they need in order to have the freedoms to open their mind to improving their own lives. So money does not buy happiness, does not buy solutions to problems. It buys, I think freedoms is the best. It buys freedoms.
And make things more fair, I guess.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. So that's what we're trying to do, and that's what we're trying to prove. And so far, I think it's doing what it's supposed to.
Nice.
Yeah. Anyhow, enough about me. I think we need to end this episode.
Yalla.
All right.
Good.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.